Hello, this is Mr. Waston aka Tiny, and this is How to Blackrock Caverns Heroic on Cataclysm. As you start the dungeon, you will face two mobs called Twilight Flamecaller. They cast one spell called Call Flames. After the cast is done, as melee DPS you have to get away from them because they do a massive big AoE flame damage around them. As you continue, you will face some other mobs that you have to basically just AoE them down and kill them before pulling the boss, and let's just talk about the boss right now. So in general, Romog Bone Crusher has 4 abilities, and that we will discuss about the first one, which is the Quake. Quake is a 3-second cast from the boss that when the cast is done, everyone gets some damage from the AoE and some adds will spawn. So Tank has to taunt them and aggro them during the fight, and you can AoE them down. The most important spell called Chains of WoE or WoE. I don't really know the pronunciation of this. That will gather all the members of the dungeon near the boss, and you have to kill the chain in the time that the boss is casting the Skullcracker. Well, actually this spell is the most important one because it's an 8-second cast, and in 12 yards if you don't kill the chain, everyone will die. It does a massive AoE damage in 12 yards near the boss. So if you manage to kill the chain and get away from the boss, congratulations, you just did everything correct. And the last spell calls Wounding Strike, which the boss deals to the tank or whoever has the aggro, which is 200% weapon damage and some healing debuff, like 40% of healing debuff. And the rest is the history. Like, you have to continue facing the boss and just kill it. Okay, I'm gonna leave these fast forwarding through the next boss so you can see what to do, like visually here. Just let's enjoy the music. So the second boss is called Korla, the Herald of Twilight. So the most important spells is called Dark Command, which is a 2-second cast and it is interruptible. You have to make sure to interrupt it each time, or it will fear one of the party members for 4 seconds, and you don't want that. The rest of the mechanism works out from a spell called Evolution, which is an overtime debuff. Like it stacks until 100, and when it stacks on either players or the mobs near the boss, it will transform them into another mob that you will see in the footage. The mobs can be CC'd, and generally you have to focus to kill the boss before it causes any trouble. There will be 2 ways to maximize your debuff stacks until 100. One is a purple AoE on the ground. Actually, in journal they didn't mention the spell name. And the other one is the tethering purple between the boss, the mobs, and the dragon is hanging on the top of the platform. You can either disconnect this tethering between the mobs and the dragon, but on this way you will get the debuff stacks. When the ad or the mob turned into the bigger ad, they have like several spells to cast and you have to watch over them. Mostly you have to CC them, but the most important one is the Shadow Strike, which deals a massive damage to a random player, and it has a cast that can be interrupted. Okay, let's move on to the next one, and I will be explaining more when we reach the boss. Before talking about the boss, let me just talk about this ad called Conflagration or something. Well, it has mainly two spells to consider, which is an AoE debuff that reduces your HP and it stacks each time, and there is another one that it will do AoE damage nearby, and it will turn each Quicksilver to a living ad, and you have to kill the ad, mostly single targeted, and make sure to just get them one by one, because there are two in the platform, unlike what we did, but we actually managed to kill them both at the same time. So moving on to the third one, Karsh the Steelbender. So as you see, there is a lava flowing in the middle of the platform. By default, the boss has 99% damage reduction. As the tank moves the boss into the lava river, the boss no longer takes 99% damage reduction, and with each second you take the boss in the middle of the platform, it gains 5% more damage taken, and it stacks over time each second. The more damage taken debuff or buff on the boss resets every 17 seconds, so you have to stack them, and you have to be careful because as each stacks grows, you take more AoE damage and tank gets more damage from the boss. The best thing to do is to measure how much you can hold and get the stacks by that. So moving on to the beauty. This boss fight is not really hard. There are 4 main spells that will trigger during the boss fight, and I will explain them one by one. So starting with the magma speed. So the dog will speed on you and you'll get a debuff plus some damage taken, and when the debuff is gone it will explode. Move on to the most annoying one, which is a berserker charge. That it will pick a random player and rush toward it, and you will get knocked back and you will get some damage. Flame break knocks everyone back who are near the boss and deals some damage to them. And the last one is terrifying roar, which fears you for 5 seconds. One more thing to have in mind is that when you are fighting with the puppies alongside with the beauty, they will spit some lava AoE on the ground. You have to dodge them. You don't have to be inside them, or otherwise you will take a lot of damage. Okay, so last but not least, we have the Ascendant Lord Obsidius. The boss fight starts with two other mobs fighting alongside with the boss. You should bear in mind that each AoE damage will trigger them and aggro them toward you. Okay, so with that said, there are two phases, like in 69% of the HP of the boss and 33%. The boss starts to transform to another at nearby. It's not a hard thing to deal with, and you don't need to switch the target, it's something automatic. Thunderclap is an AoE spell that will deal some nature damage to everything near the boss and slows them by 60%. There is a debuff that will reduce your healing taken by a huge amount of damage, and it stacks. The best way to deal with this boss is have a hunter or someone who can kite, get the ads, aggro them and just kite them with the slow traps and stuff.